Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me, the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are adventuring off in the spaces between. We're being broadcast live on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and on YouTube. Hello, hello. And make sure you are hitting the like button, the thumbs up, and also the subscribe button if that's something that you want to do. So yes, please. And then, yeah, no matter how you are listening to me, make sure you do stop in and say hello. I appreciate it. And let's see what else. Sorry, brain cramp. It's been a long week. um, so the podcast is up, and my lovely producer is adding more material all the time. And so podcasts can be found on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And you can also check me out on the Spaces Between Live. That's my the website for the show. And then Etsy.com/shop/Monarch Mountain Studio, MTN for Mountain. And if you really want to support me, which I know you really, really do, I do have a Patreon site, and that is www.patreon.com/the spaces between. So yeah, that's me. So hold on, Black Tree, I'm going to send you something just really quick, maybe, if I can get to the right screen. She asked for some shortcuts, and I promised her I would send them. And I have been just kind of a loser, crazy person this week, I gotta tell you. So I work for my day job for a health clinic that's local. And right now is open enrollment for health insurance and stuff. And so I help people find health insurance and how to pay their bills and that kind of thing. And it's been just kind of crazy. So I just like helping people, guys. And so yeah, it's been fun. It's an adventure, I gotta tell you. Just straight up adventure. So if you want to call, the line is open tonight, and it is 213-233-3998, or if you're across the pond in the UK, it's 44203-393-2871. And someday when I'm all growed up, I'll have a phone number just like Brent and Dawn on Paranormal Portal, and anybody can call me. But we're not there yet. And holy cow, is chat blowing up. So it looks like I've got Jan for Peace, Psycho D, the Wookiee, TFR Wookiee, and Eager somebody, I can't see that, sorry guys, in TFR. And then on YouTube World, well, y'all are just busy. I got Sage, Blacktree, hi Blacktree, Deb, Lewis, hi Lewis, Nessie Monster, hello, hello, Weird Desk. I saw Cameron in there earlier, so hi. Thank you for joining, you guys. I appreciate it. And holy cow. Y'all are just chatting away in there. Goodness. I'll try to keep an eye on it. And if you do call in and I don't respond right away, make sure you mention something in chat, and I will try to focus. So, first off, wanted to respond to a listener email from Randy, and he asked me if only pagans are empaths, or are empaths, and is there a link between empaths and paganism? And at the root of it, no. There is no connection. You can be an empath and follow any path, whether you're an atheist, agnostic, Christian, non-Christian, pagan, heathen, Satanist, whatever. Political. I mean, politicians can be an empath even. So I think a lot of the reason why so many people assume that those who are pagan are more likely to say they're an empath or whatnot is not so much because there are more of them. I think people who are following the older religions and such are more open to the idea of the unknown, the unfamiliar, and the non-mainstream. I don't normally talk about mainstream media or Hollywood or anything like that. Okay, I talk about Hollywood all the time. I bash them because oh my gosh, yeah, let's here make a bunch of stuff up and make everybody believe it because yeah, people are sheep. But anyway, that's Hollywood. So no, you could be an empath without following any particular path or tradition because it is a state of mind, if you will, and or not a state of mind, but an ability that you have. Just like snapping your fingers is an ability, or smiling is an ability, or being able to talk or speak multiple languages, which I can do bad English, good English. I can order beer and get directions for the bathroom, and that is pretty much all I can do in Spanish. I can wave hello in any language, and there's some other hand gestures that we're not going to go into, but it's just like all of those things that we can learn and we can enhance. Some people have more talents. I personally feel that any fool can sing. Not every fool can sing well. So just be aware. You can enhance it, you can work at it, and you can develop this skill and this ability. And whether you're an empath or a telepath or any of those, it's something that you have to work on. And just I think those who are pagan or follow some other traditions, the older traditions, we're just more open to it. We're more open to the possibility of it, and the and more willing to develop the ability. That being said, yeah, there's empaths can be in any walk of life. A lot of them are called to a healing path, or healers, or guides, or spiritual leaders, just because they can feel that angst or that emotion, and they have this urge to help. Not all, but most and many. So anyways, that was just a listener email from Randy, and I just wanted to address that because it's something that I haven't really seen addressed very much across the interwebs because y'all in chat are crazy. Radioactive Mountain Dew. Anyways, so yeah, that was just my 3 cents on being an empath. I'll probably actually do a 3-cent videos while you guys are being goofy in the chat room. Just real quick question. What is your thoughts on the 3-cent videos if you watch them on the recorded notes? Comment below and let me know. Because I would like to know. Because I do try to do them periodically. Yes. Yeah, it's a hard life to live, especially if I think for folks that are new to being an empath or just discovering this thing about themselves, often it's hard because generally as a group or as people, we don't want to stand out. We really do want to kind of blend into the surroundings. Most people don't want to stand up and say, "Hey, yes, look at me. I'm the leader." And that's a real real thing. But it's regardless of who you are, and as you learn these new things about yourself and you're developing these new skills, I think that's part of the reason why some people stay in the pagan pantry or the broom closet for as long as they do, is because they're just not comfortable putting themselves out there. So those that do, welcome them and love them and honor them just like you would anybody else who's making a transition into a a different path or reality, if you will. So, anyways, so yeah, there I am nattering on. Um, Tonight, I got to thinking because it is that time of year, I would talk a little bit about Krampus. 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 Um, and because like last night was Krampusnacht, which is Krampus night, and just figured it's a really good time to talk about him because yeah, it's a good thing. It's kind of an anti-hero, if you will. So basically, the Krampus is been associated with the horned god because the horned god is kind of a complicated being. And in the ancient world, there are quite a few different horned and antlered gods, and Krampus could obviously absolutely be one. And often today's interpretation, especially with the neo-paganism group, is that the horned god is kind of a conglomeration of many of those other deities that may be associated with him, like Pan, for instance. So Krampus is considered the horned god of Yule, but he could possibly be a reflection of Krampus, or excuse me, of the horned god, which I don't think he is, and I'll get into that in a little bit. So basically, Krampus has been a pretty persistent spirit that just can't seem to be erased by religion or government, actually. He's been denounced by the church and even fascist rule in Austria in 34 and 38. He's been considered a symbol of anti-Christianity, a sinfulness, wickedness, social democracy. He's just... Krampus gets a bad rap, period. He's been boycotted often by child psychologists since, like, I think the early 50s, because they say that he's just psychologically scarring. Well, he's not the good guy. He's not necessarily the bad guy, but he's not the good guy. And so, no matter how many times and how many ways, he's been trying to, or the world has tried to suppress him, or today's society has tried to suppress him, he's pretty doggone popular right now. And he's in pop culture. There's a movie now. There's books, TV shows. There's all sorts of things that happen on Krampusnacht. One of the regional covens here in the Pacific Northwest did Krampus caroling last night. So, he's becoming more accepted in society today, a lot more so than 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Yeah, 50. But it's still, he's not very understood, partly because of Hollywood. But basically, Krampus, the name itself is derived from the word krampen, which means claw. And Krampus, I'm going to stumble over this, of course, is described as kind of a half goat, half demon, a satyr-like spirit who travels with St. Nicholas and divines whether children have been naughty or nice. And if naughty, one would be lucky to just get, a good whooping. And with birch twigs, or maybe have their hair ripped out. But if they've been really, really bad, they might be, thrown off a cliff, dropped in frozen lakes, drowned in a bathtub, stabbed or eaten, or just thrown into a burlap bag to be carried off to the underworld. So, depending on how bad the kids are, which in today's society, I gotta tell you, some of these kids might actually need Krampus. Anyways, while Krampus hails and originates pretty much from the Austria area, his origin is very much Nordic. Tradition says that his mother is Hel, and Hel, one L, and she's the goddess who rules the underworld and the dead. And now Hel isn't as well known in Norse mythology, but her father, or Krampus's grandfather, is pretty popular. Most everybody knows him. His name is Loki. And Loki has been just really, he's really a primary character. He's also the father of Fenrir the wolf, Jormungand the world serpent, And so, when everybody got together for dinner, it probably was quite the adventure. And Krampus isn't just a one-of-a-kind demon. Legend says there's actually a whole race of creatures called Perchten. It's German. Perchten. And they've developed out of an alpine folklore or pagan folklore from ancient times. And it said that the long winter months needed to be scared away, and so people dressed in animal masks would wander the village and do that. And over time, those super scary creatures that they pretended to be developed into the furry horned beast that we recognize today as Krampus. Now, the Perchten is generally associated with Perchtenlauf, or it's a parade again of the devil-like creatures are just going through the middle of the village. Now, this is really an ancient ritual, ancient practice, and there even before Saint Nicholas, of course. And while the Perchten almost disappeared completely during the Dark Ages, because they of course were targeted just like witches were for eradication, of course. There's, as the church was reviewing things and what to get mad about and what not to get about, and they decided that Krampus was actually an okay one, mostly because Krampus, at least as early as the 1600s, was adopted into Christian traditions because he really is the anti-Saint Nicholas, or literally an anti-Christian creation, and he would show up along with the Christian Saint Nicholas, just as the polar opposite, because it's something that a lot of people in society today don't realize, that you don't get the light if you don't have the dark. You don't have the good if you don't have some bad. They don't always balance out. There's often too much of one, not enough of the other. But there's there's a dichotomy between in life. We are a spectrum disorder. Life is a spectrum disorder, guys. You can be really, really good. You can be really, really bad. But generally speaking, we're in the middle. But for those on the ends, there's the Christian Saint Nicholas, and there's Krampus. And so Christianity kind of blended Krampus and this Perchten, and turned him into and demonized him literally, and turned him into just a horrific reminder of what waited when people in general, not just children, but all people, were naughty. And since, Krampus was someone who was out there, disciplining and telling people they were going to be bad, and taking them away in his burlap bag to the underworld, it's an idea that the church could really embrace and say, hey, yeah, this is the guy. He's the bad guy. He's the designated bad guy for this movie. So he was embraced, and most of his brethren and the other Perchten were, just really ignored and let go and faded into obscurity, which is really unfortunate, because there's probably a lot of mythology there that would have been just super interesting. So now there are some thoughts that Krampus was originally a spirit of purification and warding, and because scourging is often seen as a ritual act of purification. Not always, but it can be. And so he was often, or the Perchten were kind of an entourage spirit, so entourage of spirits, excuse me. I suppose that may have gone with Frau Perchte, who was often associated with Hulda and Frigga, and so they would go through and purify the city, the community, whatever, and get rid of the bad, negative winter months to bring in the summer and the warm and the light. So just mythology and legend, of course, does say that Frau Perkta was the guardian of the beasts and was responsible for the Krampus. And he was actually, the Perkta in general was split into two groups. Now I'm going to probably mess this up because my German is horrible. Is the Schönperkten, who are beautiful and kind spirits, and the Skierperkten, which was the ugly and wild spirits in the retinue or the following or the court of Frau Perkta. And the Skierperkten were depicted as hairy, horned, and satyr-like monsters, like Krampus. And those are the ones who went door to door, driving away the evil spirits, ghosts, and demons, etc., etc. So, even though this is actually, this is actually one of those really good examples of how a spirit or an entity from ancient times, or an ancient spirit or entity, has been translated through Christianity into the character that we see today. And he wasn't a bad guy. He was just out there doing his thing. He was cleansing, and often, during the winter months, that's when a lot of those bad behaviors would come out because people are not able to get out and get rid of some energy. So, it was a way to keep people, following the straight and narrow on the right path, and to keep them well behaved and to keep that balance and harmony in the community. And there's, to me, it's interesting. And Sage mentions in YouTube chat that it's bothersome that Hollywood is kind of pushing Krampus right now, when really they have no idea what Krampus is really about. And yeah, you're right. I think it's legit. People do not understand what Krampus is really about, or the Pieten in general. That seems to be happening a lot, especially in Hollywood or media. They see this thing that sounds kind of interesting. They read maybe the cliff notes or the subtitle, and they're like, "Ooh, let's run with this." And they don't really understand the whole concept or the entirety of the concept. And then they kind of bastardize it and turn it into something that is really different than what it was. Now, I'm not saying Krampus isn't a scary person, because he is, but he's not the demon, the ultra bad guy that Hollywood turns him into. And right now, like last night, there's the Krampus festivals, especially in Europe, not so much here in the U.S., but more in Europe, where people dress up as Krampus and walk the streets, and it's a big parade, and there's all sorts of YouTube videos, Facebook videos, etc., etc. And holy cow, do people really embrace dressing up for Krampusnacht? Holy cow. It was some really awesome looking costumes. Some of them look kind of like an adult Halloween party, but for the most part, they really get into it. And the Hexenwolfen, which is a kind of a dance group thing that's people dress up like witches and they do this dance thing, and I think they're kind of derivative of the Krampusnacht. I don't know for sure, but there's some elements there that seem very similar, and it's just kind of interesting. So anyway, so I've got a little bit more about Krampus. We'll catch that after the break, because it's coming right up. I do see that Julia's dropped into YouTube World. Website is www.thespacesbetween.live. I do have a members only section on there, and to be a member you have to go to the Patreon site, which is www.patreon.com/thespacesbetween. And the podcast, if you want to check that out, is just pretty much any place that you can find a podcast, whether it's Apple, Google, Chrome, whatever, wherever it is you find your podcasts. I listen to podcasts too. I actually get them off of Anchor. That's my platform, just because I like it, and it's easy, and I follow a couple people. And most of us are driving a bit, so getting a podcast and downloading it is often just a good time to listens about some informative stuff rather than some of the junk that's on the radio anyways. Or the local news. Or not local news so much, but the national news, because that one's not so much exciting anymore. It's kind of, we're not going to talk about politics. So, anyways, the phone lines are open tonight. That's 213-233-3998. And if you want to send me an email, I love those. I try to respond to them in person, or I'll mention them on the show, either way. But that's wildpaisley@gmail.com. And we will be right back.
Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me. The songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Um, we're talking about Krampus tonight, and I gotta tell you, the YouTube chat room right now is talking about food and food fights and all that. So, not so sure about the food fight, but the leftovers all sound good. Y'all are goofy. So continuing on Krampus, Yuletide has always been a time of two rather different, contradictory worldviews, at least in recent history. Um, the first can be summed up in the Santa Claus, St. Nicholas mythology. And in that version of Yule, often the holidays are about religious piety, giving, family-centered celebrations, quiet reflection, and that kind of thing. And in this version of the Christmas season is the pinnacle of religious thought and expression, and it's really, most people expected to bring out the best in humanity. And there's really nothing wrong with this type of approach, really, truly. Um, and Because winter solstice can really be a time for quiet reflection and, just thinking about things and thinking back. We do definitely see an uptick in, donations, charitable donations, and real goodwill right now during this time of year. And so I guess Santa Claus is a lot like Apollo, for instance, and providing order as a shining star in the midwinter darkness. Now, on the other side of that particular equation is, of course, the dark side, like Krampus, for instance. So he definitely gives us a slightly different viewpoint or version of Yuletide. An example would be like the drunken office party, if you've ever been to one of those. They're an interesting thing. And so Santa Claus is the somber Christmas carol, and Krampus is the naughty kiss under the mistletoe. Both are an equal part of the holiday season right now, and often really necessary. So, Santa definitely is a right jolly old elf, of course, but he's not very naughty. And Krampus is, because naughtiness is kind of important. It often releases that pressure that comes living in a civilized society. So, a drunken Yuletide, for instance, may be kind of a social safety valve, when you get to let loose and let things go. So, Krampus is often associated with sex and debauchery. And often Krampus is, shown with, leering eyes and a long tongue, and so often people see him as a very sexual deity, and similar to a lot of the portrayals of the horned god. I don't know about that, but that's a version or an interpretation. A lot of the cards that they put out for Krampusnacht look a lot more like Valentine's Day cards than Christmas cards, honestly. I don't know. It's a thing. So Yuletide is not really considered a sexual holiday, but it has had definitely a sexual overtone, over the years, especially in ancient history. So often people would get a little tipsy and often have adult relations, if you will, for temporary booty calls. There you go. And the nights were cold, the days were short, snow was limited, they couldn't go outside. So what's the most likely activity that happened in the dark? Yeah, well, December is considered the most fertile month of the year, so there's probably a reason for it. So anyway, so that may be why Krampus has kind of a sexualized viewpoint. I don't know. Not my thing. Yeah, some of those selfies that Krampus has just really don't do much for me personally. Not my jam, guys. So, yeah, just interesting. Very, very interesting. But yeah, as far as Krampus goes, interesting guy. I think he's been really misunderstood and misinterpreted by Hollywood and the media and society in general. He's out there to cleanse the space, cleanse the area, and get rid of the long nights and short days and start ushering in and make way for the new year or the lengthening days as we try to get closer to spring and further away from winter. But he's a part of the Yule season. Speaking of Yule, it is coming right up. It's on the 22nd of December this year. Um, I will probably be live. It's a Saturday, so I don't know why I wouldn't. I don't know. We'll see. We're not there yet, but yeah, I'll probably be live. But next week is a full moon. It's not on Christmas this year or solstice, which happens. Now, the full moon in December is often called the full cold moon or the long night's moon. It kind of depends on where you're at, and it's the last full moon of the year. So, it's often this time of year is where or a time where people will sit back and reevaluate who they are, what you want to be. And that's why moving forward and looking forward, with the New Year's resolutions are often associated with kind of reevaluating where you've been in the last year. And do you want to make changes? What are you going to change for the coming year? And so the Yule season, the full moon next week is definitely a time to really focus on that. So, oh, my chat room is naughty. So, kind of what are you going to change in your world that you didn't like in the last calendar year that you would like to do differently in the next calendar year? And seriously, there's a lot of things. People will go through their wardrobes right now. One of the standards, if you haven't worn it in 6 months or used it in 6 months, why do you still have it? I get it. I tend to hang on to clothes mostly because I'm tall and I hate shopping. And I've had to alter about 2/3 of the jeans and pants and slacks that I buy because I don't like my ankles showing because they get cold. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. But yeah, it's time to really evaluate what's going on. And, the relationships you've had in the last year, were you happy with them? Is there something you want changed? Is there something that you need to let go of? Are there people that you need to let go of? Because, people can be negative and drag you down. They really can. And it's unfortunate because a lot of times they need added attention or energy. And so often we just don't have the energy for it. Seriously. So, you evaluate what's going on in your life for the last year. What do you want different next year? So, by all means, I would do an altar. You can do it under the full moon. You can do it outside, inside, whatever it is you're going to do. But if you're going to do it outside, you can have a little fire. Set your intentions, of course. Write them on a piece of paper or bay leaf, and burn it in the fire and let the breeze or the wind blow the ashes away, letting your intention go out into the universe, which is a good thing. I've got one. I'm going to say it out loud in front of a bunch of people and really make it go home. I'm hoping that with all the notes that I've been gathering from doing the research for the show, since I've only been doing this since April, guys, so it's kind of awesome. I want to put all those notes into a book for eclectic pagans. And the reason for this is because so much of the material I read is either fiction, is based on a movie, on a video game, a card game, or something like that. It's pretend, made up, and it's hard to figure out what's real and what's not. And also because so much of the material out there to read or for research is set up specifically for one tradition or one path or one way of believing. So I kind of want to just write a book for pagans. A friend of mine wants to do it too, so we're probably going to write competing books or something. So yeah, I'm going to write a book. May not be a very big book, but I'm going to write a book. I was hoping to get it published by the first of the year, but life and reality said no. Apparently, I have to sleep once in a while. I don't know why. I mean, yeah, just sleep. Who needs that, right? So it'll probably be first quarter. I want to get it out there. I'll probably do the self-publish through Amazon, so it'll be Kindle and all that stuff too. So yeah, that is an adventure that I am embarking upon. I was a guest on Lucky's show. Way back in May, April. I don't know. It was shortly after I got started, and her listeners were like, "Hey, so where's your book? What book did you write?" And all I can think is like, why not? What's holding me back? Well, mostly me and a significant need to sleep. I could just mainline some coffee, but I don't know. We'll see. I was kind of hoping that I had the flu a while back so I could just stay home and do this thing, but that didn't work out, so I had to go to work. So, anyways, but yeah, that's an intention that I am putting out there. I am going to write a book. And I'm nervous as I'll get out about it because, yeah, it's a big deal, guys. If you ever saw my handwritten notes, you would know why I type things out. But yeah. So, altars are good. So going back to what we're talking about, the pagan stuff. Holly branches, pine cones, cinnamon is often an incense for winter or this time of year. You can buy specific winter solstice incense from a lot of your esoteric shops. And a lot of them have a lot of material in there. How much of that do you really need? Honestly, you really don't need any of it. But it's kind of fun to have those cool toys, keeping up with the Joneses or the witches. So, yeah, I love going to the esoteric shops because that's cool. I like that. And then I'll go to the thrift store, buy some of the bits and pieces. Maybe I'll get some stones on offline or from the esoteric shops, that kind of thing, and I'll make something. Like I am currently making a wand. It's got petrified wood at the tip, and I need to do some paint and some other stuff, and it'll be done. And I'll show you guys when I'm done. But yeah, it's putting the intention out there. I have so many projects. I need 3 of me. So if anybody knows how to clone, or seriously, I could use it. So, anyways, go through your stuff that you don't use anymore. Get rid of it. You can't see it right now, but my whole craft area that I've got going on over there. Went through and did some organization last weekend, and holy cow, it feels like a brand new space. I just feel energized. Cleaning the house tomorrow. Steam clean the carpets. I'm more likely to do the deep cleaning this time of year than I am in the spring, mostly because I feel the need, it's time to purge that old from the last calendar, getting ready for the new calendar. So yeah. And physical clutter is definitely something that, drives everybody nuts. I'm trying to get rid of it. I have a lot of flat surfaces. So I have flat surface disease, where it seems like all my stuff on the flat surfaces seems to just keep accumulating. So, yes, Weird Desk. Those grays are good at cloning, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to go that way. Maybe. Depends how much control I have over them. I don't know. Maybe I just need to be like Hermione and have that time watch thingy that, makes you go back in time so you can do more than one thing at once. I don't know. Don't mind me. I'm just a goofy. So, yes. Full moon. set your intentions. Burn the leaves, and let the wind take the ashes away. And you can do that for any full moon. You can do that at any point, honestly. If you're just having a rough doggone day and or week, or the family's been sick and all of that, set your intention, write it down, burn it, let the wind take the ashes away, because you're setting the intention that you're not going to be sick anymore. So Woke in SoCal just asked if my clone isn't as bright. What do I do? Yeah, that's the one who's going to clean the bathroom. I'm just saying. So, and yeah, I get that, Tracy. I hate cleaning up after other people. I have a hard enough time doing it on myself. So why the full moon and not the new moon? So the new moon is a good time to get rid of things, and I often will. I guess it kind of depends on what I need. So this is one of those things that's really good to meditate on and try to figure out what your intention is or what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So if you're doing a ritual that you want to do for the SBAT, absolutely do something then. And the reason for doing this particular type of intention setting and burning it, and all that with this specific moon is really because we're moving into the new calendar year, where we're setting our intentions with the solstice. As think of winter solstice as the new moon, if you will. So you're setting those intentions for the year, or for the calendar year, because and then in spring, during spring solstice, or excuse me, summer solstice. Sorry, no coffee. I'm drinking water. And then at summer solstice is kind of like the full moon. So we're setting those intentions that we would at the new moon to fulminate or culminate at the full moon or at summer solstice. So I will do it both. It really depends on what I need, and what I'm trying to accomplish. Because sometimes, I've got enough, for instance, and my intention is to not ask for any more of whatever X is. And so I'm putting my thank you out there into the universe. Or sometimes I've, in talking to friends or coworkers or listeners, I will, set the energy, that intention to really, help them on their path, or help them heal, or help them find, whatever it is they need. I will put the intention out there, pretty much whenever. Often I feel stronger or a lot more energy with the full moon. And so if I have to really put a lot of energy out there for a certain purpose, I'll do it with the full moon. Now, some friends and I got together, and we did a working for another friend, and basically, we were trying to help her with some relationship stuff that she needed to unload, some baggage, and we used the energy of the new moon, because it was important to let it go with the new moon and to ground out that negativity. So, yes. It really depends on what kind of energy you need for the ritual that you're doing. And when I say ritual, I don't mean like you're going to cast the circle, call the corners, you're going to light the candles, you're going to dance the dance, say the phrase or the poetry, and, close the circle, give the offering, all that. Often, a ceremony is simply greeting the deities, greeting the guides, the gods, and then doing your thing or asking for your thing, and then saying thank you. And seriously, it's not that hard. It's not that complicated. It's not that convoluted. I've been working on some protection charms for Brent and Dawn as they do ghost hunting and such. And, it's taken a little bit because there's a process to it, and I want to make sure my intention's correct. And Some of it has to be charged at different times of the moon phase to make sure that the energy is correct. So, by the way, I see someone's talking about cleaning houses and everything. I will happily put my name in the hat for a house elf or to get my house cleaned. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Um, so, yeah, old baggage is a good thing to get rid of. You can also do like a cord cutting. Visualize your connection to this other person with a cord and cut it. That's a very visual way representation of getting rid of that energy or that relationship. Wash your hands. I mean, seriously. Take a shower. Let that energy fade away from you. No, you actually heard some bleep bloops. Apparently, since I live in North Idaho, my internet connection is feeling a little quirky today. So, yes, there are some bleep bloops. And it's kind of happened off and on all night. So, I'm surprised that's the first time anybody said anything. It's been an adventurous show. Lots of bleep bloops. So, yes, full moon coming up. Make sure your intentions are set correctly. Yule is coming up. So what are you doing for Yule, this winter solstice? I'm hoping and kind of tentatively planning on having kind of a potluck locally. Get together, do a circle, and just have a good time with my local peeps. So that's on the to-do list. So yeah, it's all good. It's all good. And let's see, I don't know what I'm talking about tomorrow night, but I do wanted to let you guys know. On the 20th, I do have a guest. It will be a local a hypnotherapist group, and we're going to be talking about past life regression on the 20th with Blue Lotus Hypnotherapy, and super stoked about that. We'll be doing a couple different sessions with them, the past life regression, lives between lives, and I believe the other one is has to do with negative entities and how they attach themselves to you. So super, super excited about that. I'll be putting information out on the website here shortly. And then, I got a couple of different guests coming up that I'm super excited about. So thank you everyone for joining. I see all sorts of crazy shenanigans happening in the chat room. And hi Renee. And it's all good. I love hanging out with you guys. You're just so much fun. Seriously, you really, really are. Yes. Naysay, you may absolutely connect with me on Facebook Messenger sometime. I had your number, but I don't know where it went. So, yes, by all means, Naysay, reach out to me on Facebook. It's just Paisley Wilde, WILDE. You can find me on the Facebook world. So, the spaces between .live is the website. Patreon.com/the spaces between is the Patreon. You can find me on the podcast world. You can email me at wildpaisley@gmail.com, WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. And then, what was the other one? Oh, Etsy. It's etsy.com/Monarch Mountain Studio. And Mountain is MTN. And if you guys are looking for something custom, let me know. I may have to design it. So that is a thing. And by the way, there's some in the levels in Patreon, there is an opportunity or option to choose like a custom rune bag or custom tarot card bag. So yes, it'll be fun. It'll be great. I guess I really do need a little bit of input from you guys. So if you leave a comment, that'd be spectacular. What other topics do you want to talk about in the coming year? I mean, seriously, I love talking about the full moon, the different deities, the different mythologies and legends. So, um, yeah, let me know what you're kind of looking for or interested in. Shoot me the email, wildpaisley@gmail.com. I love those because then I can tell that people are really listening and not having food fights. Because, yeah, there's apparently a food fight today. So, anyways, that's all for tonight. I'll see you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Pacific time. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring the spaces between. So, merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. And good night, all.
I, O Lord, within the sun, as we will, so mote it be the spell forever.